The AAC Report is brought to you by Blake Blahut of Realty One Group. Whether you're looking to buy your very first home or looking to downsize or upgrade, call Blake Blahut anytime at 407-748-0484. Welcome to the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Thanks for hitting that play button. We will review the Week 8 action and get you ready for Week 9, including our Spotlight Game of the Week, Tulsa at Navy. Joe Miller of the Navy Radio Network will join us later to break that one down. Meanwhile, in last week's Spotlight game, Shane Buechele throws for 457 yards and 6 touchdowns as SMU turns back Temple 45-21. Here's Ponies head coach Sonny Dykes.
I thought we played pretty well in the ball game. I thought we started fast. We felt like that was going to be important for us to get off to a good start. I thought we executed pretty well offensively, particularly in the first half. We were able to make some first downs and sustain some drives, and I thought our defense got off to a really, really fast start. I think, we held them 3 and out a number of series, I think 4 out of 5 series, something like that early in the ball game. And so, we were able to get off the field, and our offense was executing, and got off to a pretty good, start and a good lead. We hit a little bit of a lull, I thought, in the third quarter where we didn't play particularly well. We had a couple of short fields. We didn't, get the ball in the end zone, and then and you got to give Temple credit. They stuffed us on a 4th down, 4th and goal, and we didn't get the ball in the end zone there. So clearly we got to get those mistakes fixed, but I thought overall it was a good, one of our better performances. I thought we played good on both sides of the ball. I thought our kicking game, was good enough to give us a chance to win, and so it was a good win for us. As you said, we have a short week this week. Sometimes those are tough. We had a pretty physical, tough practice today that was less than 40 hours. From when we finished a game the other day. And, it's just tough on your players physically, tough on your players, to have a short turnaround like this. But the good thing is Houston's going through the same thing. And so we just got to do a good job of getting ourselves ready to play. There's always a balance you have to strike between working hard enough and making sure you're not overworking your players. And so we're trying to find that balance this week and hopefully get our guys, prepared and able to play fresh and fast on Thursday night against a really good Houston team. When you look at Houston, it's always the same with those guys, really good, fast, athletic, skill position players on both sides of the ball. I think the receiver, Stevenson's probably one of the better receivers in college football, just really dynamic, explosive. They have good backs. They've got good depth at those skill positions. And then when you look at the speed on defense, they have a lot of guys that can really run. So it'll be a big challenge for us.
SMU now ranked 16th, 7-0 overall, 3-0 in the West, and with Boise State losing to BYU, SMU now in the driver's seat for the G5 bid to the New Year's Six Bowl. They'll face Houston come Thursday as Cougars come off a 24-17 win at UConn. Here's Cougs head coach Dana Holgerson.
Well, I was going to talk about Dane Roy, even if he wasn't named the conference player of the week, which I can argue he should be the special teams player of the week. You could even maybe potentially put him up there on the offensive and defensive player of the week due to the fact that he flips the field and gives our defense long fields, and then at times that's the best offensive weapon that we have. So I should promote him for offensive, defensive, and special teams player of the week every single week. I'm glad you guys are finally recognizing him. He's been in this league for a long time. He's one of the top punters in the country. He's top 5 net guy. Moves up that list every week. We're new with this scheme, and Dane's new with this scheme, and has embraced it. I think Blake Gideon's doing a great job of coaching these guys up, and he's placing the ball exactly where we're telling him to place the ball. So it's the best punting performances that I've been a part of. And he's one of our team captains. He goes out there and he talks in his Australian accent every every time before the game, the referees get confused at times, but chuckle a little bit at the same time. And 30-year-old guy that used to sell ice cream that is from Australia and one of the team favorites. Really is truly a pleasure to be around.
Yes, it is an exciting game when the coach raves about the punter, isn't it? Not to discount what Mr. Roy has done kicking the football, but nonetheless, a 24-17 tough affair with Houston and UConn. So this Thursday, SMU at Houston, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Houston leads the all-time series 21-12 with one tie, but SMU won last year's game 45-31. SMU will be wearing their Dallas-themed jerseys to show support for the residents affected by Sunday's tornado in North Dallas. 18th-ranked Cincinnati took down Tulsa with a 24-13 win to move to 6-1 and atop the East at 3-0. Here is Bearcats coach Luke Fickell.
Well, obviously last week, another thrilling, really tight victory. Score doesn't probably indicate how the game really was. That is a really good Tulsa football team, and I know that their maybe record doesn't indicate, and some people will be misled by that, but that's a good football team, both offensively and defensively. And for us, we didn't probably play our cleanest, but we found a way to win. When we had to have it done, we got it done. Defensively, we played pretty well, a lot of snaps on defense, but we ended up getting 5 turnovers, which is probably the biggest difference in the football game.
Cincinnati is on a bye this week. Meanwhile, Tulsa falls to 2-5, 0-3 in conference, but their record not indicative of how tough a matchup they have been for conference opponents through the season. Here's Golden Hurricanes head coach Philip Montgomery.
Yeah, I thought our guys played extremely hard. I thought they fought. Obviously, Cincinnati's an extremely good team. I thought we fought them tooth and nail, had opportunities, got to do a good job or a better job of protecting the football and, converting in the red zone. But we had our opportunities. Obviously, schedule continues to stay pretty strong because obviously we got Memphis coming to town, and Coach Norvell and his staff have done a great job there. They're playing extremely well, and we know we have a huge challenge in front of us, but got an opportunity to get back on the practice field tomorrow and get a chance to continue to improve and get better. I think our team has done that throughout the year, and we've got to continue that process.
So as Coach Montgomery said, Memphis is up for them next. They rolled over Tulane 47-17, gets them back to number 25 in the coaches poll. Tigers head coach Mike Norvell.
Hey, I was really pleased with the response from our football team. Coming off a tough loss there at Temple the week before. I thought our guys, did a nice job of preparing. They had the right mindset. We talked all week about not letting the previous performance affect the next one. We learned from the experience. I thought our guys came out with a great purpose, and we were able to execute at a very high level. And you talk about all 3 phases had to show up. Tulane had a very explosive offense. Had been very productive defensively, and obviously very well coached in special teams. So it really took each unit playing at a very high level to allow us to win that game. And going into this week upcoming, we have to go back on the road. Playing at Tulsa. This is a team that is very dangerous. You watch their games this year. They've got a huge win against a Wyoming team that's quite impressive. Then they've been competitive, and challenging into the fourth quarter in just about every other game this season. It's a team that I think schematically what they do is very challenging. I think Coach Montgomery is one of the top offensive minds in college football. Does a great job of attacking, the opposing defenses. A very unique schematic approach defensively, where they can come from all angles. Tough in their your coverage. Recognition and what they're doing there, and then very well coached in special teams as well. So we're going to have to play at a high level on the road, obviously we're excited about the opportunity. You just touched a little bit on Kenneth Gainwell. I thought he had a phenomenal performance last week. really did a great job not only running the football, but obviously what he was able to do in the passing game. We tried to utilize all the skill set, in getting him in favorable matchups, and he was able to do a wonderful job of winning his one-on-one opportunities. So he's playing at a very high level. We're excited about where he is, but also where he's progressing to go as he continues to gain more and more experience.
We'll talk about Kenneth Gainwell's 100-200 game later in our weekly player honors. Memphis at Tulsa, Saturday night at 7 on CBS Sports Network. Memphis leads the all-time series 18-11, including last season's 47-21 victory. UConn goes out of conference to face UMass after dropping to their 6th loss of the year at the hands of Houston. Here's UConn head coach Randy Edsall.
Well, I thought we played better against Houston on Saturday. Played better defensively and offensively. I thought we did some good things. We had opportunities that to score more points, and we just missed out on those on some throws and some critical blocks. But again, we gave ourselves an opportunity to win and came up a little bit short. And now we prepare to go up to play UMass right up the road. And, big thing for us is to eliminate some of those errors that we had last week and continue to get better and continue to develop, all these players and most especially all these young guys that we're playing.
UConn at UMass, 3:30 Saturday. That'll be on Nesson. And in the series, UMass leads 37-34 with 2 ties, and they won last year by a count of 22-17. South Florida travels to Greenville to take on East Carolina as they try to rebound from a 35-3 whipping at Navy. Here's Bulls head coach Charlie Strong.
Well, disappointing loss, and we just got to play much better than what we played up in Navy. But that's a good football team, and it's a road game, so we just got to play well on the road. We're going to East Carolina this week, and I know they're a really solid team. They're playing very well, even though they lost to Central Florida. They ended that game the right way, the way they came back and scored a bunch of points. So we just got to go out and have a good week of practice and get our players ready to go play, and knowing this is another conference game for us.
The Pirates come off their 41-28 loss to UCF at the Bounce House. Here is East Carolina head coach Mike Houston.
Well, obviously disappointed in the loss this past weekend in Orlando, playing one of the most talented teams in our league, if not one of the most talented teams in the country. And, obviously we didn't start off very good. I was, disappointed in, the first quarter of play in particular, but I thought our players did respond and played, much more like we want to play in the second half, just a little bit too little too late kind of deal. Just never could get it inside of 10 points there in the third quarter, to make it interesting going the fourth, and just kind of hung right around there, right around the, the 11 to, 13-point range there for, the duration of the game. But anyway, moving on to South Florida, excited to be back at home. Should be, a good crowd this Saturday for the game. South Florida's, they've had a little bit of an up and down year, much like us, and but an extremely talented football team. All over the field, all 3 phases. A lot of dynamic athletes, and certainly we'll have to be ready to play at a much higher level this weekend in order to have a chance to win.
South Florida at East Carolina, 3:45 Saturday on ESPNU. USF leads the all-time series 8-1, and they scored a 20-13 victory last season. Getting back to the Knights, it's a big conference tilt as they take on Temple, and a game that will most likely define who continues their quest for an AAC championship. Knights head coach Josh Heupel.
Yeah, really pleased with the way our guys came out and competed early in the football game after the bye week, and I thought defensively played with great assignment integrity. Really all night long. I thought our front was disruptive in the run game and did a great job of pushing the pocket on the quarterback, and proud of the way all those guys played all day. Offensively and special teams-wise, played really solid early in the football game. Not real pleased with how we played in the third quarter, but overall pleased with the way that we played, and got a great test this week on the road against a really, really good football team in Temple, and one that our guys are looking forward to going up there and playing.
Temple comes off a big 24-point loss to SMU. Here is Owls coach Rod Carey.
Obviously, listen, they played great. We played bad. And, that was a lethal combination. And so you got what you got on there. And got back in here yesterday, got to work on it, addressed some of the problems in our prep scheme and everything. And certainly, took ownership of that. I love the way the kids did. I love the way the coaches did. We all looked ourselves in the mirror and got going moving forward here this morning with good meetings and good practice. And so well on our way to UCF. And obviously UCF is a good team. They're fast, they're physical on both sides of the ball. And, they certainly are explosive. So it'll be a big challenge.
And now my nickel's worth on UCF, because 2 cents is not enough. As great as the first half was, the second half was a big dud. 35-6 at halftime. The Knights were hitting on all cylinders, both on offense and defense, and playing a great game. The second half, and even Gabe Davis says they're a little complacent. So they've got to figure out how to get over those doldrums coming out of the locker room at halftime. And also, I haven't heard enough people say this, give credit to ECU. And those of you who listen to the AAC report on a regular basis know I've been touting Mike Houston quite heavily. He's been a winner everywhere, won a 1AA national championship at James Madison. He will have East Carolina be a contender sooner than later. You can mark my words on that. Meanwhile, Temple, it's always been a tough place to play. This week will be no different, and they're probably going to be a little salty after getting dismantled by SMU in such a dominant fashion. UCF at Temple, Saturday night at 7 on ESPN2. UCF leads the all-time series 4-2, including the high-scoring affair last year by a 52-40 score. Coming up, we take a look at another big game in the American as Tulane takes on Navy in our Spotlight Game of the Week when the AAC Report continues in just a moment. Are you tired of the endless money pit of paying rent? Do you have a home you need to sell for top dollar? Talk to the Hometown Advantage award-winning real estate professional and fellow UCF Knight, Blake Blahut of Realty One Group. Blake has proven to produce results and a smooth process for his clients all across Central Florida. Whether you're looking to buy your very first home or looking to downsize or upgrade, talk to Blake Blahut. Visit him at his website, Blake'sOrlandoHomes.com, or contact him anytime at 407-748-0484. Again, Blake'sOrlandoHomes.com and 407-748-0484. Get the hometown advantage by working with Blake. Malcolm Perry had 188 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns as Navy grounded South Florida 35-3. The midshipmen 5-1, half game back in the West to SMU at 3-1 in conference. Here's midshipman head coach Ken Niumatalolo.
Really excited about the win Saturday. South Florida had just come off a big win over BYU, and that's a big win. BYU, we saw this past week, they beat Boise State. So for us to come and beat South Florida after they had a big win at BYU is really proud of the way our guys played. Thought we played really, really well on defense the entire game for 4 quarters. So it was great to have a complete game defensively. Jake Springer, being chosen as a defensive player of the week for the conference is a great honor for him and for our team. And Jake's a really good football player. He had a really good week of practice, worked really hard, and really happy for the young man. He's a good kid. Thought we did some decent things offensively. We got to do a better job of taking care of the ball. But with that said, we were still rushed for over 400 yards and able to get a win. But excited the way we played, again, especially defensively. Looking forward to another tough game versus Tulane. They had a tough loss this past week, but they've been playing great the whole year. Coach Fritz is, one of the best coaches in the country. He does a really good job, and their teams are always tough and sound. Changed a little bit schematically this year offensively, and, we're playing really, really well. And, again, had a tough loss last week, but I know they'll be ready to come back and have a tough game this week, but we're looking forward to playing them at home.
Tulane tries to rebound from a 30-point loss to Memphis. Green Wave head coach Willie Fritz.
Well, Memphis played a great ball game, and it got after us. Offense, defense, kicking game, very impressive. Started off well, drove down the first series and got a field goal and had an opportunity to get them stopped. And we got a penalty on the third, and I think it was 12, 15 yards. And, they came down and they also did a good job of converting some fourth down situations and had too many turnovers, but a lot of that was Memphis just doing a really good job. They played well, and we didn't. When you play a quality team like that, you got to play good. So we got to turn the page and get ready for Navy. Navy's got a great ball club. They're obviously they do things differently than Memphis does offensively. I think a big key to their season is how they've been playing defensively. They're very aggressive and will blitz a lot and come at you from different angles and positions, and you got to do a good job of picking those guys up and taking advantage of it when they do that. A lot of that comes into play with pass pro and all that, but it's going to be a big challenge for us, shifting gears and playing that under center triple option that they run so well.
We delve further into this key Western Division matchup between Navy and Tulane. We're happy to welcome back to the program Joe Miller of the Navy Radio Network to discuss those forthcoming proceedings. Joe, thanks for coming back on with us.
No problem, Jeff. Glad to be here.
So when you were on during our preview of the season, you were quite optimistic about Navy having a bounce-back season, 5-1 overall, 3-1 in the conference. How would you assess that bounce-back so far?
I think it's probably been even a little bit more impressive than what I thought. I came into the season and we had a lot of optimism about what the defense would look like, but I don't think we thought it would look this well this early on. I mean, granted, they haven't played the upper echelon teams outside of Memphis and the AAC, and their schedule's going to get a little bit harder here over the next couple of weeks. But as I said on the broadcast, I'm kind of running out of words to describe how different it has been for them defensively. They're top 20 in a wide variety of defensive statistics that we just have not seen in years past. One of the things that has really been emphasized is getting off the field on third down. They're top 20 in the country in third down defense. They're getting pressure. They have 15 sacks this year, and they only had 10 the entire 2018 season. They've already surpassed their amount of tackles for loss they had the entire 2018 season. I thought offensively they would be better, and they have been. It's funny, it gets kind of lost in the conversation. They're about almost 2 touchdowns better than they were points production on the offensive side of the football field. But it kind of gets lost in the shuffle on how good they've been defensively so far this season. And, really a couple plays here and there against Memphis. And outside of that, their defense has been, it's been spectacular. The word I've used a lot is transformative. It's just been a completely different ball game on the defensive side of the football field for Navy. And that's overshadowed some of the success they're having offensively, because I think you can put Malcolm Perry in the conversation of conference, on the short list, 5 or 6 guys for Conference Player of the Year on the offensive side of the football field as well. So it's kind of all coming together for them, and it's a very important stretch with Tulane. Obviously, that big game. Then they go up to UConn, and then they go out to South Bend to take on Notre Dame, and they still have SMU lurking later in the schedule too. So this is a huge game for them against Tulane, because I think they see Tulane it's interesting. I think because we played so many tight games with Tulane, and Tulane historically has probably done as well a job defending the triple option while we've been in the AAC. We've always seen this as a tough game because of what they do defensively and the talent they have on the defensive side of the football field. Now they're scoring a lot more points. So I think it just shapes up as just a massive game in the western side of the division.
So Brian Newberry is the new defensive coordinator in his first season. What has he done to tweak the defense to gain such a great improvement?
Yeah, they've been a lot more aggressive. They've blitzed a lot more, but they've also switched around some of the personnel as well. And, I asked Coach Newberry coming in, because he was coming in from a 1AA level, but coming in from Kennesaw State, which had a tremendous amount of success over the last couple of years, were you surprised at the talent here? And he's like, no, I thought this was good talent. They were concerned a little bit about the depth early in the season, but they've been, as I knock on wood here, they've been pretty healthy up into the last couple of weeks where they lost both their defensive ends, but they'll expect to be back by the next couple of weeks. So they haven't had a huge injury on the defensive side of the football field, but they've changed their personnel around. But the bigger thing is I think they've been a lot more aggressive. They've given teams a lot more different looks than what we've seen in the past. And they've had some guys emerge. I mean, Diego Fagot is one of the best inside linebackers in this conference. He'll get his pub as his career continues. He's still he's still a young player, just a sophomore, but he's been fantastic for them. And the other thing is what Coach Newberry talks about is stemming. They moved the line of scrimmage on the defensive side right before the snap. They try to do what a lot of offenses do. It shows you different looks at the line of scrimmage, and they do that on the defensive side of the field. And it's caused a lot of issues for offenses here early on in the season. So they've given some different looks. They've definitely pressured more. I mean, they've blitzed a ton more than they have in the past. They've just been very aggressive, and a couple moves here and there of personnel have really paid off for them so far this season.
And this past Saturday, they shut down South Florida, holding them to 3 points. Now, I know the Bulls are not what they once were, but they still have athletes and playmakers on that team.
Yeah, it's funny. We said after the game, the last time we played South Florida was the vintage South Florida with Quentin Flowers at his height, with Dearness Johnson in the backfield, with the talent on the outside, or Marlon Mack at running back, the guys playing in the NFL this week, and it was they put up over 50 points against us. So you can't scoff at holding that group of players. Cronkrite, very good running back, and I think they started 8 transfers from Division I schools in the matchup on Saturday against Navy. So they've still got talent. You can't take them lightly, but it was the most after the game, head coach Ken Nimataloa said, and he's been around this Navy program since the early 2000s, said it was the most dominating performance he's ever seen in that stadium from a defensive football team. And I tend to agree. They didn't give up anything. There a couple of third down runs that South Florida got, maybe a 20-yard carry on. That was basically it throughout the entire contest. So it was ultra impressive. The fact that they shut them down. And look, South Florida is going through some issues right now. There's no doubt about that. Their quarterback's not healthy. They lost Blake Barnett, the kid McLeod who's come in. It seems like he's hampered by a wrist injury right now. So they're not at full strength. But all that said, when Navy holds another AAC team without a touchdown, you're gonna be impressed by that.
And let's talk about impressive, the Western Division. SMU's undefeated. Navy's right there on their heels. Memphis is obviously in the equation. Tulane is going to be heard from, it looks like, as well as far as, being a bump in the road. So how would you explain how deep this Western Division is?
Yeah, it's quite impressive. SMU's the one that's kind of taken me by surprise. I thought with Bouchel coming in, and watching him at Texas and knowing the quality that they had already there at wide receiver with Prochet, I thought they'd score points. But I didn't think they'd run the ball this well, and I didn't think they would play defense this well. So, they seem like, it's funny, you come into the season and you expect Houston and Memphis to be the top two teams, and you're kind of focused on them, trying to figure out what they are going to be, and you're talking about De'Aaron King all year, all off season, about what Houston's going to look like with Dana Holgorsen, and now they're sort of an afterthought. Not that they're not a good team and they have talent on their team, but you just look at what SMU has done. And, Memphis, we played them earlier this season down there. I mean, it was a very competitive game. I think it's one of those games that could have went either way. They made a couple of big plays in the contest, and that was the difference in the ball game. But SMU is a very impressive team. I think Tulane is really good. I mean, the way they took apart Army a couple weeks ago, that obviously gets people at Navy's attention when they play like that. And I think Justin McMillan has done a good job at quarterback there. But yeah, the Western Division, you look across some divisions in the so-called Power Five. We like the moniker Power Six as well, but you look across some of those divisions, I think you could put the AAC West. I think you could put them right up there with some other divisions around college football. The depth is the thing that I think has caught people by surprise more than anything, though.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that 100%. And so as far as the game goes this weekend, Tulane coming in, they might be a little salty after their performance against Memphis. How do you see this game playing out?
Like I said before, they've defended us as well as anybody. Same coaching staff is there on the defensive side of the football field. Obviously, they've changed their offensive coaching staff a little bit. The same defensive staff is there, and Navy has really struggled to have, they've put points on the board, but it's always been a struggle against them. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. Tulane coming into this past weekend against Memphis, they were almost averaging 40 points per game. It went down a little bit from the Memphis game, and I was really surprised that Memphis took them apart as much as they did. It seemed like to me, watching the game, at least as we finished up and watching the first quarter and a half of it in the press box, is that, one of those games where Memphis took control early and Tulane really fell behind and never got back into it, and it kind of just, snowball effect more than anything. But I think they're going to be, a quality matchup. You look at their wide receivers with Mooney and McCloskey on the outside, their running game. Very talented offensive team. Navy's playing great defensively. I think it'll be, a struggle to put up a ton of points in this game. And almost every Navy-Tulane game has come down to the final few minutes of the game, even when Tulane was struggling as a team and Navy was, battling for the AAC West division title. So I wouldn't expect anything other than a close game on Saturday between these two teams.
And before I let you go, I want to ask you about Malcolm Perry. He's having a terrific season so far. The last two games, he's put up like 400 yards in rushing. Yeah. Last year was a revolving door at the quarterback position. This year, they made the commitment to him, and it looks like that has really freed him up.
Yeah, I mean, it was, a big debate point this offseason. They go, Malcolm Perry, how good could he be? And the coaching staff from as soon as last year ended, basically said, look, he's our quarterback. We're going to go with him. We're going to develop some things around him in the passing game that we think he can have success with. And I think the early success throwing the football has really opened some things up the last couple weekends. But, Jeff, the thing is about him, and you get to see the ultimate play, a ton of ultimate playmakers at UCF, but when he gets in the open field, there's not too many people like him. And I'm not trying to say that as a homer for Navy, but he is a legit athlete with legit speed. And when he gets in the open field, there's just not a lot of people that, A, can bring him down, and B, that can chase him down. So when he gets free, as he's gotten free the last couple weeks, I think he's got 8 explosive plays in the last 2 games, which is unbelievable. Plays over 20 yards. But when he gets in the open field and he gets loose, he's just a different type of player than Navy generally has had over the last few years, and I think that's he's a difference maker because of that. And I know he hasn't been happy with the way he's done the football the last couple weeks, but they still run the ball quite effectively, and they put up a bunch of big plays, and I think he is having just a memorable senior season. He's on pace to do some special things here if he can keep this up at the Naval Academy. So I think he is really at a point where confidence level it's the best that they've had at that position in a couple years.
And yeah, I definitely agree. I think he's definitely earned himself a right to be in the conversation for a Player of the Year in the conference, no doubt about that. Well, Joe, enjoy the game this Saturday, and we thank you for joining us to give us a breakdown.
No problem. Nice to talk to you as always.
Joe Miller of the Navy Radio Network. Tulane at Navy, our Spotlight Game of the Week, Saturday at 3:30 on CBS Sports Network. Tulane leads the series 12 games to 10 with one tie. And last year, you heard Joe say they've had a lot of close games. Tulane was a 1-point winner, 29-28 in November of last season. Before we look at this week's AAC football honors, for those of you who didn't hear over the weekend, Commissioner Mike Oresco announced that the conference was given a waiver to conduct a championship with just 11 teams. NCAA rules state that a conference must have an even number of teams to play a championship game. The waiver became necessary with UConn's departure from the league after this season. Now to our honors, Offensive Player of the Week. And there are co-players of the week. Kenneth Gainwell of Memphis. He rushed for a game-high 104 yards and a touchdown on 18 carries and had 9 catches for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns in Memphis' 47-17 win against Tulane. 307 all-purpose yards, and became the first FBS player with 100 yards on the ground and 200 in the receiving game since Troy Edwards of Louisiana Tech back in 1997. The other Offensive Player of the Week, Shane Buechele, as we had mentioned, he threw for a career-high 457 yards, 6 touchdowns in the SMU 45-21 win over Temple. The Defensive Player of the Week, Jacob Springer of Navy, leading the defense that held the South Florida Bulls without a touchdown. Held them to 264 total yards. He had 7 tackles, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble as the Mids go to 5-1. Special Teams Player of the Week, as you heard Dana Holgerson gush all over him earlier in the show. Dane Roy, 47.5 yards on 6 punts, putting 3 inside the 20-yard line as he helped flip the field several times in that Cougars victory over UConn. And Dylan Gabriel of UCF made the honor roll with his 365 yards and 2 touchdowns in the ECU victory. Looking at other sports, in volleyball, Cincinnati and Houston each remained atop their respective divisions of the AAC following week 4 of league play. Despite both of them getting their first losses in conference play, Cincinnati shook off a sweep at Tulane and bounced back with a win at Houston on Sunday to even each team's record at 7-1 in conference action. Cincinnati holds a tiebreaker over UCF 7-1 in the East Division, while Houston a full game up on SMU 6-2 in the West. And the Offensive Player of the Week was Hannah Flowers of Memphis, was the key offensive piece in a 2-0 Memphis weekend, one of the most efficient offensive showings of the season. Led the Tigers with a .431 hitting percentage, 36 total kills, adding in 7 digs and 9 blocks. And the Defensive Player of the Week, Rachel Tullis of Houston, had a big defensive weekend historically to claim her first Conference Defensive Player of the Week award, rewriting the American record book in the process. Get this, averaged 2 blocks per set against East Carolina and Cincinnati, leading all players in the conference with 20 total blocks, 6 solo blocks for the weekend. Against East Division leader Cincinnati on Sunday, she had an impressive 17 total blocks, included 5 solo blocks, and the heartbreaking defeat at the hands of the Bearcats. The 17 blocks established an AAC record for a single match, smashing the previous record 13 held by 4 different players, and the most by any single by a player in a single match in Division I this season. Also believed just to be the 4th time since 2014 that any NCAA player has recorded 17 or more blocks in a 5-set match. And on the honor roll, Lachey Harper of UCF at 2.14 blocks per set in a 2-0 weekend for the Knights. Turning now to women's soccer, we look at the standings. Memphis is at top at 5-0-1 with 16 points, 13-1-1 overall. South Florida at 5-1 at 15 points, 10-3 overall. Cincinnati 4-2 in conference with 12 points. They are 6-7-2 overall, and UCF at 3-1-2 with 11 points in 4th place, 8-2-4 overall. 3 American squads are receiving votes in the latest United Soccer Coaches National Poll. Memphis is in at number 11, while South Florida and UCF are receiving votes. The Offensive Player of the Week, tell me if you heard this one before. Evelyn Vaines of USF scored in both of their matches. last week, including the equalizer against UConn on Thursday, the game-winning goal against Temple on Sunday. And that goal on Sunday was the 62nd career goal, a new conference record. Kanya Plummer of UCF was the defensive player of the week, anchored the defense that did not allow in 2 scoreless draws for the Knights. The goalkeeper of the week, Samantha Cood of Houston, had 2 shutouts and a pair of wins, 6 saves against ECU on Thursday in the 1-0 overtime win, and a pair of saves against Cincinnati in a 3-0 victory. And Caroline Delisle of UCF got her 6th and 7th shutouts of the season to be the rookie of the week, as she did a great job in goal against Temple and UConn. Then soccer, looking at the standings, UCF atop at 3-0-1 in conference for 10 total points, 9-1-2 overall. Memphis is 3-1 with 9 points, 9-3 overall. SMU 2-1-1 with 7 points. Also Temple the same in conference. SMU is 10-1-1 overall. Temple 5-6-1 overall. And in the United Coaches Soccer Poll, it's UCF checking in at number 8 and SMU dropping to number 12. In the honors, the Offensive Player of the Week, Arthur DeLuca of Memphis, buried the golden goal in the 91st minute on Friday as Memphis dealt SMU, ranked number 3 at the time, their first loss of the season by a 4-3 score. Defensive Player of the Week, Jackson Morse of Memphis, registered the Tigers' second goal, knotting the score at 2 before Memphis went on to that victory in overtime. And his score came on a corner kick header in the 81st minute. The goalkeeper of the week, Simon Lefevre of Temple, he had 5 saves to backstop Temple in their second straight conference victory as the Owls defeated South Florida 3-1 on Friday, and turned aside 2 shots in the first half, 3 in the second, to keep Temple in front throughout that contest. He leads the conference at 0.97 goals against average on the season. And Peter Chang of Memphis was the rookie of the week. He was Memphis' point leader in that 4-3 win over SMU, 2 assists and a goal for 4 points. And Gino Vivi of UCF made the weekly honor roll. His second consecutive golden goal on Sunday, finding the net in the 92nd minute in UCF's 2-1 victory over UConn. And looking at cross country, co-male runners of the week, Aaron Benenfield of Cincinnati picked up his second race victory of the season, besting 131 other runners in the men's 8K white race at the Under Armour NCAA Pre-National Invitational on October 19th in Indiana. And Peter Lynch of Tulsa, he led Tulsa to a third-place team finish at the Nutty Cone, Wisconsin Invitational in Madison, besting 14 top 25 teams in the process. He finished with a 23:56.1 time for an individual 14th place result. Female runner of the week, Winnie Koski of Wichita State. Her second weekly honor of the year following a strong 7th-place finish at the Under Armour Pre-National Invitational, and had a time of 20:23.8 in the 6K, among the fastest in the American in 2019. And a quick note from college hoops. Penny Hardaway's Memphis Tigers come in ranked at number 14 in the AP preseason top 25 poll. Houston and Cincinnati also received votes. His freshman center, James Wiseman, was selected to the preseason AP All-American first team. So UCF at Temple coverage preview coming up from Adam Eaton with Knightline Extra. Trace and Andrew will be back on Sunday night to recap it all on Knightline. Adam and Mike will do the same on Sons of UCF, and we'll catch you back here again next week. This has been the AAC Reports, only on the Knightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Thanks for listening.